One of the most frequently asked questions I get asked whenever I'm looking at someone's account is who should I build as my next E5? The reason this is one of the most common questions I get asked is it's relevant whether you don't have an E5 or whether you have all the E5s under the sun, because you always want to be building more E5 heroes on your account to improve the things that you can do. If you take a look at the list of heroes, there are so many to choose from, and it can feel like a big game of guess who, trying to decide who will eventually be your next E5. So in today's video, I'm going to be going through a step-by-step process that you can use to help you choose who your next E5 is going to be, and hopefully it's going to aid you guys with making decisions that are going to help benefit your account, whether it's immediately or in the future. So let's get into this. The first thing you must do before you build an E5 hero is ask the question, do I have enough food? By food, I mean 9-star and 10-star heroes necessary to build up that hero, and do you have the resources, the gold and spirit required to bring that hero up to a high enough level to perform at a satisfactory point? 330 would be a good level, 350 is ideal, and you almost need 1 billion spirit to get a hero all the way up to level 350. So please do bear that in mind before you go ahead and ask who to build as your next E5. If you're stuck unable to level them, you're going to look a little bit silly. As well, don't forget the gold and dust will be needed to go ahead and upgrade the stone. There's a lot of things you need before you build an E5 hero. Let's assume you've got all that covered and move on to the next question. Do you have a carry hero? By a carry hero, I mean a hero that can complete a massive amount of game modes that will functionally be the most powerful hero on your account that you use to clear pretty much any game mode that you're struggling with. Ideally, this is going to be someone who is very reputable and most people in the community will encourage you to build. The biggest names here are Eloise, Swordflash, and even arguably Fairy Queen Vesa takes a spot if you want to look at later game accounts, because she can do many things that other heroes can't. Of course, for earlier players, your biggest choice is going to be Eloise, or if you are approaching a Transcended hero, Swordflash. So do ensure that you have a carry hero on your account. If you don't, there you go. That's the next E5 I want you to build, a carry hero. Step 2. Let's assume you've got a carry hero. What do we need to break down now? Well, how close are you to a Transcended hero? Go into the Gate of the Void, have a look at your Compass of Transcendence, and you'll see there's a number of these purpley-wurpley things called Crystals of Transcendence. These crystals are used in the Evolution Cube to get yourself a Transcendence hero, which are more powerful heroes than most. Ideally, if you're close to a Transcendence hero, the answer to the question is you're going to be building a Transcendence hero as your next E5. So you want to make sure you've got the food, you want to make sure you've got the golden spirit, and everything else you need to build this hero. If you go ahead and build someone else, the worst thing that could possibly happen is you get to 5 million Crystals of Transcendence and then not be able to build a Transcendence hero. It's a massive kick in the teeth if you end up in that situation, because you're ultimately just going to slow down your progress, because the progress you get from building a Transcendence hero is huge. Now, you might already have this covered if you plan on swapping a hero to a Transcendence hero. So, for example, let's say you have an E5 Penny who is in the Fortress faction. You can swap her to Seer, and then, ba-bam, get yourself a Swordflash. So that's one way you can get around the resource troubles and the food troubles, but just bear that in mind. Obviously, if you're close to a Transcendence hero, you need to be thinking about building that Transcendence hero primarily. Now let's assume you're not close to a Transcendence hero. Where do we move next in this guide? Well, ask yourself this. Do you have any Tenants? Now, Tenants are a funny thing that are used in this place called the Cloud Island that you don't unlock until you have a Void 4 hero. But even before you have a Void 4 hero, you want to be thinking about this. So even if you guys don't know what I'm about to talk about, you need to learn it very, very quickly. Because carry heroes can become way more powerful if you build them Tenants. Take a look here at my Swordflash. Because I have Fiona, Halora, Inosuke, and Gloria all inside these buildings, which are also leveled up, I'm gaining a whopping 1.2 million extra attack on my Swordflash. That is huge. That massively transforms her performance in pretty much every single game mode I throw her in. So you want to make sure that you've got some Tenants. But you can't just go building Tenants willy-nilly. You need to know which Tenants you need. For Swordflash, she's got a very specific requirement of heroes. She's going to need Seer, she's going to need Fiona, Halora, Sherlock, Aspen. We've also got here Onkiramaru, Inosuke, Asmodel the Dauntless, and finally Gloria. If on the other hand you're thinking about using Eloise, we have Flora, Ithaca, Onkiramaru, Gustin, Jara, Saja, we have Tix, Mim, Annabelle, and finally Carrie, Amon-Ra, and Freya. All of these heroes will benefit you, but some more than others, which leads me to my next question. If you don't have Tenants, let's take a look at the slots that are empty and then ask ourselves this. What game modes are you struggling with? Now, that's the most important thing you need to ask yourself when you build your next E5, because everything is all about goal-orientated progress, knowing what you're aiming to do and knowing what steps you need to take to get there. Let's say, for example, you haven't got Aspen Dungeon cleared. That could be one of the things you're struggling with. Let's say you're also rocking an E5 Eloise, you've got your carry hero covered, but Aspen Dungeon still eludes you, and it's very hard. Maybe you're struggling in the Tower of Oblivion. Maybe you're struggling with broken spaces. All these different game modes that come up are things you need to think about before you consider who to build as your next E5. So then once you've figured out what you're not doing very well in, ask yourself this next question. Do any of the tenants for the hero that is your main hero actually help with this? Tix, for example, is fantastic at clearing the Aspen Dungeon. He also happens to be a tenant for Eloise, so not only by building him do you give yourself a way to clear Aspen Dungeon to Death 100, you will make your Eloise more powerful, which makes you better in every game mode. See how when you start thinking about how these threads link together, we start making good choices for our next E5. But let's say you've exhausted that. Let's say you've built every good tenant that could possibly help your account. Well, now you've got a choice. Do you either want to continue building heroes that are going to benefit your account, or do you want to continue building tenants to make your main hero stronger so that she or he can benefit the account? And that's an important distinction you need to make, which brings us back a step. What game modes am I struggling with? If you can't think of any hero, tenant or otherwise, that can help you, maybe it's worth building some more tenants to make your main hero better, and that might just do the trick. But anyway, let's carry on, because there's a question we need to ask next. Does any hero from a faction which you don't already have an E5 in overcome any of those areas we spoke about? Now, the reason this question's important is if you go to the Glory Challenge, you'll see that you get a 9-star puppet every time you build an E5 in a new faction. Add to this the fact that if you build an E5 in a faction when you don't already have one, you can potentially clear Seal Land to level 20. So there's our next question. Can the hero that we've pulled away from a different faction as an E5 actually do their own Seal Land? So let's consider these two things together. Let's go back a step. We still haven't managed to do Aspen Dungeon, but let's say we've already got an Annabelle on the account who is taking up the same slot as Tix. Bit of a weird example for an Eloise there, because I don't know why you'd go Eloise Annabelle, but let's just say that is the case. Well, I'm thinking right now, well, I'm going to want someone that can do Aspen Dungeon, but from a different faction. A faction where I haven't built a hero already. Funnily enough, Penny fits the bill with this one. Penny is a fortress hero who can not only solo her own Seal Land, she can also be Aspen Dungeon. She's a very good early choice because she can do both of those things. However, what if you've already beaten Fortress Seal Land, and what if you've already beaten Aspen Dungeon? Then Penny becomes entirely useless. So even just because you heard Penny was good, on one account she can be amazing, on another she can be entirely useless. And that's why we constantly need to be asking ourselves these questions to think, how does this next E5 benefit the account? So let's say we've made it this far. We've gone through, narrowed down a list of heroes. Maybe we've got like 2 or 3 heroes remaining to choose from, and we are now thinking, right, okay, I've got some heroes from factions I haven't built, or maybe I've got an idea for a hero who is a tenant, and all these heroes can help me in game modes I'm currently struggling with. What's the next thing I need to ask myself to narrow down this choice? Well, it's going to be guild tech. If you go into the guild and look at your various tech trees, these make a huge difference when it comes to a hero's performance. If, for example, Eloise is your main carry hero, no doubt you will have Ranger maxed out. But if you suddenly go ahead and try to build, let's say, a warrior, maybe your warrior tech looks a little bit like mine, and it's completely untouched, because I don't use any warriors on my account, and I don't know if I ever will need the warrior tech until I build one. So I don't build it. Now, I have to ask myself the question, do I have the necessary gold and guild coins to give myself the guild tech, or even is it already built? If the answer is no to both of those, there's no point building this hero, because you can go ahead and build them and hear all these wonderful stories about how powerful that hero is and how they're going to help you and how they're going to clear this thing. Maybe they fulfill all the conditions you've looked for, but you just don't have the guild tech. You're going to have to wait a little bit before you build that E5. The next question, artifacts. Do you have the right artifacts to utilize this hero? It's all well and good saying, oh, guys, I've got it. I'm ready to go. I've got my Sherlock who's ready to go and clear the Seal Land 20 in the Fortress faction. And then someone turns around to you and says, well, do you have an artifact that can do that? And you go, wait. Sherlock needs an artifact? And they go, yeah. Do you have a really upgraded Punisher of Immortal, or do you have something like Antler's Cane that Sherlock can use to get enough damage to beat it? And you go, well, no, I didn't think about that. And then they're going to turn around to you and say, bro, you're going to get stuck at round 15. You're never going to clear it fast enough because your Sherlock's not going to deal enough damage. You're going to look like a real silly Billy if you build a hero and don't have the correct artifact to use them properly. So, of course, there's our next question you need to ask. Do you have the right artifacts? Now, if at this point you're a little confused because you don't know the artifacts or the various strengths of certain heroes, fortunately for you guys, I am making some videos where I break down every single faction and talk about certain heroes in those factions, in fact, every single hero in each faction, and let you know whether they should be built or shouldn't be built, and if they should be built, how to build them and what they're good at. So that's an important thing that you guys should go and check out, and if you haven't caught them already, hit that subscribe button because some of them will be coming out in the futures, others already exist. Just go and have a look around, you might find something you're looking for. And the final question you need to ask yourself when it comes to building an E5. You've got your food, you've got your guild tech, you've got the right artifacts, you've narrowed the list down to maybe 2 heroes now. The question is, do you have enough copies to build them? It's funnily enough, it's the last question, because I think that's the last thing you need to think about, because you need to know who you're aiming towards. But if you don't have copies, at the end of the day, you can't build them. Normally, this is going to be light and dark heroes that get stopped because, quite frankly, it's quite hard to get light and dark copies or even light and dark food to build them up to a high enough level. But that's the final question you need to ask yourself. Now, this is why I encourage you guys to save chests, because the more chests you have, the more versatile your decision-making can be, the more flexible you are, because chests can be any hero. So having them unopened means that you can make decisions a little more easily. But let's say you don't have many chests, and let's say you don't have many hero copies. That ticks you wanted to build for Aspen Dungeon, you might not be able to. So you have to go through this list again and think, right, okay, in that case, if not ticks, who am I going to have to go for? So this is the kind of frame of mind and thinking I want you guys to do, because all too often I see people build heroes. And when I do account reviews, I like to ask people why they make decisions rather than immediately roasting them, at least not on camera anyway, right? On camera, we roast them because it's funny and it's Gordon Ramsay, but I get permission to do that. But off camera, I normally say, okay, why did you build this hero? And a lot of the time, whenever I'm questioning them, it's because there's something not quite right about why you would build that hero on the account, or I'm not quite seeing why. Now, sometimes it could be, I built that hero earlier, I did what I needed to do, and now I'm just keeping them around. In that case, I say, regress the hero, get all the resources back, let's build someone else. But other times, people turn around to me and say, well, I heard they were good. I thought they were cool. And that's because these people, they just follow what they hear on the internet. They follow the recommendations of people. But the problem with recommendations is recommendations aren't personal to you. By going through the steps I've outlined in this video, you'll be able to think about situations that you're struggling with, the tenets necessary for your carry hero, and the decisions that you can make that will benefit your account. This is all about you as an individual and what's going to benefit you as you play. So hopefully by thinking this way, you guys are able to come up with some good decisions to help your account. Because, for example, what's the point of building a hero that isn't going to benefit your account just because you heard they were good? There isn't one. Let's build heroes that improve our performance, that help us achieve the goals we need, and will ultimately bring your account to a much better point so that you can gain more resources, build more heroes, and have more fun. If you guys enjoyed this guide, please do hit that subscribe button for more stuff in the future. Let me know in the comment section down below whether this helped you choose your next E5. Let me know if you've got any more questions. And of course, guys, let me know how your idle journey is going. Until next time, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one. Happy idle.